Hello and welcome to the Feedback Show. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
Hi, Dad. How you doing?
Hi. I'm doing really well, Steve. Yeah.
What are you working on at the moment?
Okay.
Well,
What?
you
All
don't have
right.
to
I'll say,
say
can I?
actually, but you work
Well, I tell you what I've
animal.
done. Yeah, I've just finished the one I was telling you about last week. We were talking in the
Oh
podcast last
yes,
week. Do you remember?
yes.
And I said what I was going to do is a picture, then split it into three different pictures
Yeah,
that people have got choices, and it's worked out really well. I send them to you so
yeah.
that you can see them yourself, and they're great. They've really worked out because I knew from the beginning what I was actually aiming for. The original drawing um, was took that into account, and then I was in fact going to do the background, and on the video when people see it, they say, "Oh, I'm gonna." I said I'm going to do the background from one of them. I changed my mind when I got to it. I thought, no, I won't do that. I'll do the background as a whole. So I did, and it worked really well. And the whole thing's coming out. People, when they see it, as I say, we won't give the subject away, but when they see it, they've got lovely choices. This is what we're trying to do now: give people choices. You don't do the whole thing. You can just do one, or you can do two, or you can do two individually, or you can do the two together.
It really
Which is lovely,
works.
isn't it? It
Really
did work,
works.
didn't it?
Yeah,
Mm,
I think
mm,
it's. I think people are going to love it, and it will be really interesting to see how people
mm.
approach that subject, whether they do one or singular or together.
That's right.
It's going to
That's
be
right.
interesting. I can't wait to see what people do.
No, I'm well. I'm really packing them out now. I'm doing one a week. That's my average, and you're putting up one a week. So,
I'm a bit behind though.
oh yeah, you are.
Just a
But you
bit.
see, if I do two a week, no, if I do one a fortnight, you'd catch up with me pretty fast. So I've got to keep me nose to the grindstone.
That's it.
But I love it, Steve. I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me.
No, no, not at all. Not at all. So, this is the show where we take the artwork sent in to us by you, our members, and then we showcase it here and offer any advice or tips and feedback. That's why we call it the Feedback Show. And if you're interested in this service, then it comes with all of our membership plans. So, whatever membership plan you sign up to on our website, you get this added on and get featured, if you wish, in the show. So, let's
Mm.
start with the first one. First three from Janet. Janet says, "Hi Stephen Colin. These three portraits I did from photos I sent with them. I often look up Colin's tutorials to improve my technique, and I love the color shapers. I am always interested when Colin crops a picture to improve the balance, proportion, and aesthetics of a painting. I've tried to do it with these three, and would appreciate feedback on my choices. I did try with the horse to crop some more, but without the shoulder, it looked quite strange with his neck
Mm.
stuck to the side of the page. I am sure, Colin, you'll pick up any mistakes I've missed also. Thank you. Kind regards, Janet."
Mm. Okay, well, there's still with the number one, really, the first one with the dog looking straight at us. That's not a very good pose. I know you haven't got any choices because that's what people give you, and you just got to do the best you can with it. I would have included a little bit more neck there. I would. It's a little bit. The nose is a little bit too near the bottom of the picture, so I would have included a little bit more of the body in
Right.
that. Just sort of another. We can't crop it, unfortunately. Now, if you do that, then you've really got to bring the sides in a little bit and the top down a little bit. So it's and the other thing you could have done with that particular one is you could have rather than cut it off, you could have done my usual trick of fogging it out at the bottom. There are lots of examples of that on the site, and that would have looked rather nice because you could have made a little bit more of it if you'd
Mm.
done that. Now the other two, um, the the second one, your picture that you've done is square. Now, as a rule, it's not set in stone, but as a rule, you try not to have square pictures. So you really needed then, I would have made it landscape. So, in other words, the top could have come down a little bit. I wouldn't have touched the bottom. Um, and you could have made it a little bit more on the right, and then you could have included more of the body on the left. Try, if you can, always to make it not square rather than. I mean, sometimes you haven't got choices, and animals are awful for this. You
Mm.
tend to get them, and but square pictures are not necessarily a good thing. But don't change what you've done. It's a lovely picture. You've made a cracking job of it. I've got to tell you. I'd be proud of that. Terrific, lovely. The horse, I agree with you. You do need what you put in there is great, and that's probably the best of the three.
Mm. Yeah, lovely. This reminded me of, well, you've done one, the Persian cat, where you
Yeah.
had a fair bit of background, like maybe a third of background. Would you have
hmm
done that with this? Would you have added more background on the right?
Yeah, I would a little bit. Yeah, I would have done. I would have done because, but if you do that, you've got to also add it on the left.
Ah, I see.
You've
You
got to
can't
make you.
just add it on one
No,
side. It
no,
has to
no.
be.
Well, you can, but it would have looked better had you added more on the left and on the right.
Okay.
Just to elongate it. That's all you're doing, making it more of a landscape looking, and it's a better picture, better frame. If you think about it, all the frames that you buy in the shops, ready-made frames, particularly, they're all landscape or portrait, aren't they? You don't really often get pictures frames that are square,
Yeah.
and this just tells you a lot that because most people don't do square pictures.
Yeah.
As I say, it's not set in stone, but if you can do something about it, and we could in this case, then do it.
Mm. Lovely work, Janet. Really impressed.
Oh, beautiful! Very impressed with it. Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the next one from Becky. Hi, Stephen Colin. I have done Colin's horse lesson and was happy with the result and compliments I received, so I decided to try one on my own. I'm not quite happy with the mane of this brown horse. I began the forelock and down the chin level by using 101 and 230 as a base, and I felt that it was too light, and also that the forelock especially looks ropey, even though I used a colour shaper to try and make it look more blended. Should we start there?
Yeah, let's do that. I agree with you. That's the bit that's a bit iffy, and you've got to be careful with white. You see, if you look at the pictures you're drawing this from, or reference pictures, they're not the best in the world. So, but you've done very well to interpret the colours. But you look at them, and I can't see white in there at all. It would be grey. Light grey would have been the one to use, even on a sand colour paper. If you're using sand colour paper, I don't know what colour paper that is. Difficult to tell. But to say you are, then the light grey would have been better, and you wouldn't have had to work quite so hard with the darker colours. It would have looked better.
Mm.
And it's a little spidery, a little bit artificial would be probably a better word to use. So you need a mane is very fine. You can't really see it on the horses, but because you haven't got a picture. But what I would suggest you do in a situation like this is go on the internet and search for horses and get a really good idea of different manes. I bet you'd find one that's almost identical to that you
Mm.
could maybe copy the idea.
Mm.
That's the way I would do it. Well, that's the way I do it.
Mm. Okay, carrying on. Also, the left nostril doesn't look quite right to me. I've based this painting on the line drawing from Colin's White Horse for the structure, so I know what the underpinnings are. I don't try anything complex freehand, but then I hope the colour would correct it. That would be like trusting a house not built by blueprints held up by the wallpaper. I know Colin is right when he says to be careful of the structure underneath. I'm so grateful to be able to produce artwork like this with Colin's wonderful techniques. Even with having permanent double vision from a head injury, I can paint confidently again. Better than before, actually. Well, there you go.
Well, it's done very
Fantastic.
well, and I agree with you. Very hard. You've got your very sharp angle there, and that doesn't work very well. Um, you can't really do much about it because you've got no reference areas. You see, this is why I always say if you've got a good photograph, use the photograph you've got, or if you can't use a photograph you've got, find one on the internet that's near enough the same as the pose that you've got,
Mm,
and then you can put your own colours or own interpretations into that.
mm,
It's very hard to unless you're a really, really, really good freehand artist. You don't want to take chances like that. I wouldn't take a chance now on a situation like that.
mm,
I would have to have something to refer to because of that. You're quite right. That left-hand side doesn't quite work,
mm,
but you can't do anything about it now. It's a bit late.
mm.
So you know The tips I always give you are good ones, but when you're trying to make up a picture of your own from two impossible angles, really, then you're asking for trouble.
It's
And I
very
wouldn't.
difficult, making it more difficult for yourself.
Oh, without doubt you are, and I'm all for an easy life, and and and, and that's not an easy life in my opinion,
No.
because you're making from the beginning you're making it hard work.
Yeah.
What you with all artwork, what you've got to do is enjoy what you do, especially in our situation. You've got to enjoy it. You've got to come away from your picture thinking, "Oh, I really enjoyed that. That was great."
Yeah.
That's the ideal. Not, oh, well, I've done the very best, it didn't work out quite as well, but oh well. You know what I mean? That's not what you want to feel. But you can't feel that way unless you're following the rules.
Mm. Good point. That's a really good quote. Actually, that I like that. All right, excellent, Becky. Thanks very much, and good job considering these references. Don't give you all the
Oh,
help in the world. Done a great job. Excellent. All right, next one from Paul. Hello, I thought I would send you my first picture on the animals course, and what a beautiful picture. I hope that I have done it justice, and I really hope you like it. I think the hardest thing I struggled with was the background, trying to keep the green the same shade throughout the picture. One of my favourite animals to paint is birds, and I noticed there were some really nice bird pictures on the course. I think I shall really enjoy this course as much as I did on the landscapes. I look forward to your feedback. Thanks again, Paul.
well, we got some good news for Paul. We got loads of birds
Mm,
in the pipeline, haven't we, Steve?
yeah. Oh, yes.
In fact, there's one
I
just
think
gone
there's
up.
one just gone up. Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
can't get much prettier than a peacock, can you? My goodness me.
Yeah.
And that's I love that picture. I love doing it. I was talking just now about when you finish a picture, you've got to look back on it and think, I really enjoyed it. Well, I did.
Yeah.
And very often you hear me say when I finish a picture, well, I've really enjoyed doing this. And I'm not just saying that, I really mean it. But that's the feeling you've got to get. That's what you've got to try and get hold of. And Paul's got it. You can see that in the picture. It comes out, it shines through.
Mm,
Beautiful job. And how good is it to move from landscape into animals
mm,
and produce that? Now, the only thing that I would wrong word, watch for is the bark. Now, this is really hard to do, and I'm not surprised you probably struggled with that a little bit. Bird, great. Bark, Now, the way out of that, there's lots and lots of bark on the pictures we have put on the member site. Different, and there's more coming up too. So study those and have a go, even if it's on scrap paper. Try the techniques that I give you, because you'll be amazed at how quickly you could actually pick that up.
mm. Is that a little too solid? Is it, or what would you suggest with the bark? Because it looks like there's less on yours.
That's right.
Less base colour, is it?
Well, what it's difficult to say just what it is that I do when I'm doing bark and other people don't see. You're quite right, solid. I think the thing is, if you look at if you look at any of my pictures, you'll find that there's a roundness to it or a shape to it, and those shapes are subtle changes of tones.
Mm,
So when you put something on, if you look at the top of the bark there, which is the top of the tree or stump of the tree, it's flat on poles. Where mine it's got a roundness, you can feel the shades in it, the
mm.
shapes in it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now these are things, if you don't see it, you can't possibly produce it. So that's what I'm saying. You've got to look for the pictures that I've done. It's best to do that rather than try to copy your own, because you'll keep falling in the same trap.
Mm,
If you watch me do it and you watch the bark and the branches and the tree trunks that I do, get the way I do it, how I produce the build up to it. The
mm,
random design keeps coming up, and this is very important with something like this.
mm.
But I'm not really surprised. Every person who's ever done an owl sitting on the trunk of a tree has had a problem.
Mm.
I don't think there's one person I can remember that actually got that. So don't feel too bad about it, Paul.
Mm.
This is your first one.
Mm. No, very good, very good. I just see in there just to compare it. You know, it's good. It's good to have them on along side by side as well. I know a lot of our members do that. You know, after they finish, they put them side by side to compare, because I mean that's what we're doing here as well, and you can see that it helps. So
You also got to remember, Steve, this is a beginner's picture.
yeah,
So I was kind to you on that.
yes, yeah, excellent. Thanks, Paul. Next one from Ian. Ian done the horse and fowl picture. I found the face of the horse difficult, especially the mouth. I thought it was a lovely, well balanced picture to do and has been admired. Regards, Ian. So the face of
Well,
the horse, yeah.
what should we say? You're absolutely right. They are difficult, and I think you've done quite well. It's the face and the mouth of horses is particularly hard, as we know from the lady earlier on. It's hard to get it right. The only thing I would say with this one is the eye, is the right eye, sorry, has dropped a bit. You know, if you look at it now and look at mine, where if you put a straight line across it, you'll find mine is straight and yours dips a bit on the right. But it's something that you can correct. But if you don't have to do that. It's always difficult for me when I get to a situation like this. Should I say something? Because if I didn't say it and someone else pointed it out, I said, "Well, Colin never saw that."
Yeah.
So I have to say it if it's obvious, and that's a little bit obvious. But nonetheless, brilliantly executed. It's lovely to see pictures that, you know, hard ones, because I consider that a hard picture.
Yeah, it's
and
difficult.
tackle it really well. The smoothness of the sky, everything. It's you've done really well with that. But watch the eye. If you can do something about it, do it. If you can't, well, you leave it. But
yeah, lovely, excellent. Well done, Ian. Okay, something different now here from Jamie. Jamie's here's got two pictures, and she says the artwork will be a 24-inch by 36-inch pastel pencils picture of a cherished show dog that passed away unexpectedly before he reached 2 years of age. I really wanted to get the placement right and therefore do his memory honour. The client wants two views of this dog on the one painting. Both views are important. The close-up head shows his gentle expression and regal head. The full body shows his strong lines and his show ring-worthy correctness. The dog was beautiful, a black Great Dane. I'm attaching two pictures the client would like me to do for this picture and appreciate any advice you can give on sizes, proportion and placement or composition on the two, and a possible background colour. So let's have a look at the proportion of these, composition again. What would you do here?
Well, the first thing I would do here is lose the chain.
Right.
You can do it quite easily. Lose that don't, because you haven't got one on the other dog. So, or the other dog, the other view of the dog, same dog. So I would do that. That's the first point I would make. It's going to be very hard for you to put two of those together and make it look good. Generally speaking, in a situation like this, you do. I was talking earlier about the fogging, wasn't I? Well, I would do that on the first one. That's the one that's important. Put that one certainly on the left-hand side of your picture, and I would do it. And I would fog it out. In other words, when you put the background on, you mix the background into it. There's lots of examples of that on the site. So that's what I would do, rather than just chop it off where it's chopped off there. And you'll be able to maybe slight angle on that coming from the left-hand side down to the right. Okay, that's what I would do. Now the other one, you're going to have a lot of problems with that one. First of all, you can't really see very clearly the detail. I know it's black and it's very hard to do that, but I would probably do something similarly here. What you could do here is you could actually do a little bit more of the animal and push it back as though it's further back than the dog on the left. You see what I mean? Put one further back. And I would probably put the head, the neck, and a good bit of that shoulder, perhaps going the other way from where that lady's got her arm. That's it. And I'd come down further than that, Steve. Yeah, something like that. Something like that, because you've got a nice shape there, which is good. And you could do that again in the fog. And that could, as I say, be further back, or if looking at the picture, it could actually be the size that you've got it there. The main dog could be the size. On the left-hand side could be the size. Keep that size, and then pro rata. I mean, you will blow it up to much larger than that, but keep it pro rata, the actual sizes. And that also, by doing that, means you probably wouldn't have quite so much of a problem with the detail of the other animal. But if you're doing a 24 by 36 is a big picture. Anyway, I wish you luck with that. As far as the background is concerned, I would use a grey, but you see, there's kind of, if you look at the left-hand animal, I can see colours like there's a little mauvey colour. 169, we have a 169. If you look grey, a little bit of 169. And even the brown that's actually on that picture, that's a bit fierce, but you could add a little bit of brown as well to the background. But, it's up to you, really. That's how I would look at it. You've got to keep it you've got to make the dog look good. That's the important thing. You can't have too dark a background because otherwise it won't show up. Neither can you have too light a background because once again, the dog will be, out of place. It won't fit. Okay. I hope that helped. It's a hard thing for me to judge because I know people want to do these things, and let's put it this way: if that lady who owns that dog had come to me and said, "I'd like you to do that," I said, "I'm really sorry, I can't do it." I would have refused it, and I would have said, "I tell you what, I can do a lovely picture of that dog on the left, a lovely portrait of that, which you could quite easily."
Yeah.
But by putting two pictures together, when you're limited to detail, you're asking for trouble. That's only my advice.
No, it's good.
It's up to you if you want to take it or not, but that's what I would do.
That's good. That's what you're here for. People are asking for your opinion, and I think that's very valid. So, yeah, fantastic. Well, I hope that helps, Jamie. I've learned a lot from that, as I do every single picture you do. I'm learning loads. The next one comes from Gerard. Hi, I would like to draw this picture of my cousin's daughter and would really appreciate it if you could advise me of which colours I should use, particularly the facial features. My very first stumbling block seems to be the pencil outline or drawing of the face, as it is never perfect and there is always something out of sync with the rest of the face. I hope Colin can help with that and give me some idea how to get it right the first time. Thanks, Gerard.
Absolutely, I certainly can. Good old square drawing comes into play here. If you use square drawing and don't make it a picture too big, A4 size would be big enough. So we've got an A4 grid, or if you make your own grid up, that's fine. But what you need really is the smaller grid. When we do a picture, we have an inch grid that we place over the reference photograph. So you blow that up to the size you want it. Put your reference grid over it, the inch grid. And that's fixed to the picture, so it doesn't move, because it can't move. If you have it loose, you have all sorts of problems. So that's got to be fixed. Then the floating grid, which is the half-inch grid, can then be used just in areas like the eyes, for instance, and the tip of the nose and the lips. And you should be okay with that. Follow the reference picture and through the grid, and then draw onto gridded paper. Don't draw directly onto the pastel paper. We talked about this last week. And then you can make all sorts of mistakes. You're going to have to rub the eyes out, you're going to rub this out, rub that. But you can do that with cartridge paper. Doesn't matter. Because what you're left with at the end of the day is as good a line drawing as you can get. That can then be transferred with trace down onto your reference picture. And once you do that, there's no harm in just redrawing it slightly. Just your own little tweaks to make it sure, because you've got the guidelines correct then. And you should make a really good job of that.
So what about the colours for the facial features, looking at the face? I mean...
Well, there's a lot there, and I would suggest what you do is you look at the Victorian lady. Probably would be the nearest one to that. We've got done a Victorian lady portrait.
Of the face, yeah.
Well, they're the ones that you look at. That's the one you've got to go for.
The complexion is very similar, isn't it, to that?
Very similar, and it would work really well. There's only one tiny thing that you've got to be careful of with a picture like this. Can I just point it out to you? If it was my picture, you wouldn't want to do that strap, whatever that strap is around her, and you wouldn't necessarily want to do the necklace. So that can be dispensed with. But you could then be suggesting that she hasn't got any clothes on.
Yeah.
Now, you've got to be careful with something like this. What I would do in a situation like this is I would fog her out at the bottom.
Okay.
In other words, put her in the picture and center the head, and then fade away the picture on the left, and then there's no question about, worrying about anything. It's
not cut off or anything. Yeah, you're not showing all of the body anyway, are you then?
No, that's right. And that would work. That would work really well in a situation like this. Whatever you do, don't try to put dresses on her and clothes on her. You're going to come unstuck if you do that.
It's interesting. It's where artistic license comes in, isn't it? It's good to know what you would do in a scenario like this.
It's a good pose, and I would leave the pose exactly as it is, and just increase the size all the way round, because then you can reduce it. You can't add it on. You can take it off, but you can't add it on. And certainly when you come to the bottom of the picture and the left side of the picture, you need room there for the fogging to take place. You know what I mean by that, don't you?
Yeah.
Smoothing in a cloud, and that would give an etherical look to it. Well, it would look really, really pretty.
Yeah.
But lose those straps and necklaces.
If anyone wants to see examples of the fogging, then they're all on our website. Members can browse through the many, many, many projects we have and see instantly what we mean by that fog effect.
There is one. Can I go back a minute, Steve? I'd just like to point something out. Don't be put off this picture because if it's the only one you've got, it's not a good idea sometimes to use flash photography, which is what happened here. You see the size of the nose. Both sides of the nose. Well, if the young lady had turned slightly, you wouldn't have got that so much. But the flash does tend to flatten everything. You don't get the dimension. But you can, with work and using the techniques I show you on the portrait, you'll find you'll be able to cope with that. I look forward to seeing it when you've done it, Jared.
Brilliant. Okay, a couple more left. This is from Gabrielle. Hi, Colin and Steve. A little while ago, I asked Colin if he would ever undertake a wedding portrait, as I was considering to advance my skills in this area into human portraiture. Colin advised he wouldn't do such a project at the moment, as members would probably not be interested. So I purchased a tutorial from Craftsy. Unfortunately, they only had a coloured pencil one that I had a go at. The first thing that came into my mind was what Colin said about coloured pencils a long time ago. This medium requires a lot more time and patience, and you get the same or better results from pastel pencils. I could not agree more at this stage. I was close to give up and only did one of the couple. It was good to see the difference. I've done several courses through Colin, like the Victorian lady, Indian chief, and other ladies' portraits, and I find the pastel pencils are the ultimate option. There you go. Please find the pastel pencil picture attached. It's my first one on my own. I'm sure Colin will find a lot of areas for improvement. I will try the same picture with coloured pencils again, as I am persistent to see the finished product. I have ordered more coloured pencils and I want to compare both of them. Anybody who wants to do a portrait will test you to your limits. It took me a whole week or more, spending every day many hours on this picture. Sorry about my long email. I just wanted to share my experience with the two totally different mediums and let everyone know that Colin is right. you can't beat pastel pencils. Wow.
Well, not much I can say about that. You're absolutely right. The coloured pencils don't work, and however good you are at coloured pencil work, it never ever gets the same feel as pastel. Pastel creates a lovely, lovely texture in a paper. So that's it, really. That's all I can say about it. There is a few things on the picture that you've got to be careful here, really, really careful on the picture, especially wedding. This is why I would never do it, because anybody looking at that, you know, if or when the person looks at that, they're bound to be critical. Got to be, for goodness sake. They're the people, and it's a wedding day, for goodness sake. They want to put it on their wall. So this is why there's so many pitfalls, and I wouldn't do it. Quite right, especially in a situation like this. And if you get two people as well, you've got double the trouble, haven't you? Even if you've got him absolutely perfect, you could mess up on her, or you could do the other way around. It's pretty hard to do. And the background again is one of those very difficult areas. You've got to be careful with the haloing. If you look at the picture on the right, you see how that you've got dark hitting the top of the man's head, then you've got light on the side.
Yeah.
Well, that's a much better overall impression than the haloing effect that you've got on the others. The lady's not quite so bad, but the gentleman has got that halo around it. And I know people say, well, that's very hard to do, Colin. I know it is. It's very hard to do. But there's so many examples, so many on the member site that you could look at and you could judge how I get around that. But it's hard, and I have every sympathy with Gabrielle on this. I'd have sleepless nights over that, trying to get it right. Very hard. But we got some portrait. We're going to do some more portrait work on the site, so that would be interesting. The plan is that we're going to be doing. We're going to pick, well, not rather than do one picture for you to do from beginning to end. We're going to do little sections of pictures, like some different coloured hairs and different eyes and different skin and so on. This is the plans we have for portrait work. I think people will like that because they can just pick out, I've got to do a mouth. How can I do that mouth? How can I get the teeth to look right? And this sort of thing, you know. So I think that's going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah, it's honing the techniques, isn't it, that you need for portrait work? Really,
absolutely,
isn't it?
Absolutely. But my sympathy goes out to Gabrielle there. It's a hard one.
Yeah. Okay, all right, one more left. The cat is on the desk, just to warn you. So anything could happen. Could lose all these pictures in a moment.
Don't let us see the chicken. For God's sake.
She's looking right at it. This one is from Michelle. Hi, Colin and Steve. Here is my effort at a friend's chicken. I found this really difficult. I hope I make sense when... Oh, cat's on the keyboard. I hope it makes sense when I say that some of the colours I chose, especially the orange, dark red and blue, were so hard I couldn't get them to lay over each other. Is there a special trick to this? I tried over and over and ended up damaging the paper. Then it was game over and I didn't quite get to finish. Thanks, guys. Best wishes, Michelle.
Absolutely. There is a trick. Red doesn't like any colours underneath it. So you've got to put the red on directly. Now, if you pick a red such as, let me have a look at that, 191 maybe, something like that. If I'm looking at the picture on the right now, that would go on first.
Straight on raw.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because if you try putting anything under it, you'll end up what happened to poor Michelle there. It all goes dull. It all goes dull and lifeless. And that's what's happened to her chicken, unfortunately. It's dull and lifeless. It hasn't got the brilliance. If you look at certain things, if you look at the red, for one thing, Michelle's got an orangey red. Now, it may be photograph here that could be lying to us.
Yes, possibly, yes.
Could happen.
Photo, yeah.
Background, blue background, hard too. Now, in a situation like this, when you've got a dark background like that, I would put the dark background directly onto that, and I would have used a 157.
Straight on?
Straight on.
Wow.
And then I would have put the black on top of the 157, and then I would have put blue on top of that. and that would have given you almost exactly what you're looking
Blimey.
for.
So
Somewhere between the two there.
your 157 acts as your medium tone for the black.
Mm,
Wow.
that's right.
Okay.
You've got to put the 157 on first. That goes on first. Well, it doesn't have to do it. I'm just suggesting it. If you want a blue background rather than a black background, if you wanted the black background, well, you probably could still do 157 or 181 and then put a black. The thing is, if you put an undercolor on that, if you put a grey, for instance, you're going to find it difficult to get it dark enough.
Hmm.
It used to be, we used to have to do that because we didn't have the color shapers, but now we've got the color shapers. You can put the 157 and you can rub that in. It's not brilliant, it's not perfect, but it's a very good representation. In fact, Steve, I've got later on, I'm going to ask you to include that very procedure in one of our clips later on. It's when we're having to marry hair to a background. Can you imagine? Now, picture this, folks. Blonde hair, beautiful blonde hair against a background like that.
Yeah.
Well, would you like to do that, folks? Well, you will if you see me do it.
Yeah.
God, it looks good. But you've got to do it the right way, otherwise it looks awful.
Yeah, it looks like there's a real learning curve there with that kind of picture. Once you get through that.
Yeah. I think probably it depends on what you're looking for. You see, if you're looking for a lighter blue, and not wanting the dark color, then you could probably do the 157 again, and then put the blue on rather than the black. Then you could put the 157 back again, and you could dispense with the black altogether in a situation like that, because 157 is very dark. It's a midnight blue, Steve.
Blimey. Okay, well, it's good about the red as well. I think that's some good.
It's not
tips
just
on
the red though; it's all of the colours that Michelle's used there.
A bit too much base.
Undercolours, yes, put too much undercolour, and the brighter colours haven't had a chance. You've got to be very careful with base colours. If you put too much base colour, that's what you get. If you don't put enough base colour, you get it too strong. You've got to find that happy medium. Practice, of course, is the key to this. The more you do, the better you are.
Okay, well done, Michelle. Anyway, I think there's lots there to help, hopefully, and other people are as well watching. I hope that's helped. Okay, well, that's it for this episode. Lots to cover, lots have been covered, and I hope that everyone's found all that useful. As always, we'll be back in a couple of weeks, so keep sending your artwork to us, and we'll be back next week with a podcast with more discussion topics. And if you want to sign up to any of our membership plans and get this service bolted on, then go to colinbradleyart.com. and you can check out the sign up page and see what plans we have to offer. Great. Thanks, Dad.
That's all right. Pleasure.
And thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
Bye for now.